Live from the backstretch at historic Saratoga Racecourse, this is Racing Across America with Seth Merrow. Racing Across America is brought to you by Pinnell's Restaurant, a Saratoga tradition since 1922. 284 Jefferson Street, Saratoga, just minutes from the track. And the Clubhouse Racebook, 711 Central Avenue, Albany. When you can't make it to the track, make it to the Clubhouse Racebook.
Good morning and welcome to Racing Across America live from Saratoga. Seth Merrow by our Clare Court location where the horses have been enjoying the morning all morning long. I had to wait for a big Chad Brown contingent as I drove in over by the harness track. Plenty of activity on the front side. Again, on a gorgeous morning. If you're planning to come up, you will have a great day. Don't forget, post time today, 12:30, 12 races. That includes the Jim Dandy and the Lake George. Also, keep in mind, we had Katie Davis in yesterday promoting the nice event across the street at the harness track. She and Trevor McCarthy will have a couple of match races for charity. They did the same thing last year, and it was well-attended, fun night. And I think with the weather, it's going to be a great night. I think it'll be a big night again tonight. So keep that in mind, maybe a little doubleheader action if you'd like to come over to the racetrack this afternoon, then head over to the harness track tonight. Should be a fun day and into the night as well. All right, coming up a little bit later on, we will be joined by Kali Francois. Again, she co-hosted last week, substituting for Vic when he was down Sunday at the Haskell. So you're familiar with her. She was out running around the backstretch the past few days. Take a little piece with Mark Casse, talking some Sandman and some Classic Q. We'll watch that and more. Also, a little bit later on, David Aragona will join us, morning line odds maker for NYRA and maybe for America. If you watch Twitter, everybody thinks he's the best guy in the business. I would agree, but we'll do a little handicapping because he's pretty sharp there as well. But speaking of Sandman, we're going to start things out with our friend Terry Finley from West Point Thoroughbreds. Talk a little Sandman and more. Terry, good morning.
Awesome to be on, Seth. I was thinking as I drove over here, I think we've been on the show the last 20 years, and I'm like, we need to slow these years down a little bit. So let's go.
You ain't kidding, but it was only a couple of years ago. You guys had the great milestone, and we had you on after that, kind of reminiscing of West Point now versus West Point then has grown exponentially.
I mean, everybody asks me that. Obviously, the partners come first, outside of the horses. And then a great team, and on top of that, we love what we do. So when you have a group of people that really love what they do and are passionate and try to get better every day, and you get a luck is obviously a huge part of it, but you put all those things together and you have a shot. And that's what we've always said. Let's give people a shot.
Yeah. And I can vouch for how much fun the folks have. I was out in the paddock yesterday with you. The fourth place finish I thought was okay for the runner yesterday.
Yeah, solid.
Yeah.
I talked to
Junior. Debut runner.
Yeah, he said actually she hesitated like 3 different times in the races. So I think just a little racing, a little experience will do that fairly well. She's a curl and she's supposed to get better. And overall, they're the kind after years of being in the business, you say that sets us up pretty well in her, for her second and third start.
Yeah, that was one that looked like the foundation provide a little education to go forward. But again, I can vouch. I was over in the paddock. You had partners there. Typically, I'll see you guys out in the paddock and then watching on the big screen. And I know of the West Point folks have a lot of fun, and you do have a great group. Your family is involved, certainly, and Tommy Bellhouse and Jason Fluid. I've had both of them, and I had Tommy back, I think, the Belmont meet, but I had Jason just a couple of weeks ago. Joe Bianca, you had a great team that involved. And so also, I always tout the website as well. You guys have a really good website just for fans, but for obviously partners as well, but tells your upcoming races and results and whatnot, and gives you more information if folks are interested. Speaking of the partners, I was going to get Griffin Johnson in here, the influencer that is now a partner in Sandman through the program with America's Best Racing. He was a little tied up, but you mentioned hopefully we'll get him in next week. I'd love to talk to him because he seems to have really jumped in head first, and he's been involved with Sandman right from the beginning. And I pulled up from his Twitter feed, have a little shot at him giving Sandman a bat. So he's jumping in full full bore here. And I think he's been a nice addition as well to maybe 14 million followers on social media, bring some new eyes to the game.
Yes, Seth. I tell you, it's been beyond, I think, anybody's wildest expectations. And I think overall, too, I've been around the country since the Derby. I've had any number of trips, and I'll end up bringing up Griffin Johnson. I'll bring up Sandman. It is truly amazing the number of people, and their eyes light up. I know Sandman. I saw Sandman. I know Griffin. So, that's what we need.
Yeah.
I know we're all thinking about ways to make our business better. We got plenty of challenges. We all acknowledge that. I think the challenges have been identified. Now we got to do the blocking and tackling, and we need more bettors and overall more owners and breeders. But, I mean, he's doing it, and I can't give him enough credit. He's passionate about it. He's enjoying it. And he's always looking at different parts of our business that try to say, all right, what can I do as an influencer to exploit that? And I think the best is yet to come with Griffin Johnson.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. And hopefully we can get him in maybe next week to talk a little bit about it, because, as I say, he's been kind of fun to see involved in the game. And with that number of followers, I'm sure, even a small percentage of those jump on and become interested in the horse racing game. It'll be
I think it's 18 million, so I wouldn't bring up 14 million. 4 million in an influencer's world, that's pretty. But he just gets it. I think that's the overall. He gets it, and when you have somebody that gets it and has that kind of following, good things, they have to happen.
Yeah, clearly he's having a lot of fun, no question about it. All right, let's get to it. Speaking of a lot of fun, Sandman, this afternoon for you in the Jim Dandy. It's speaking of a lot of fun, talk a little bit about the name and how it ties in and how Metallica has kind of jumped in, which has been fun.
Well, actually, the manager of the band, the real manager, I guess there are a bunch of people say I'm a manager, but the head manager is from Albany, and he used to come as a kid to Saratoga. So through a friend of a friend, before the Derby, we got to him, and he was like, "Yeah, I'd love to come to the Derby." So they were playing in Nashville the Thursday before the Derby. They actually came up on Oaks Day, and the whole band had a great time, really good. And about 5 o'clock, they said, "We'd like to go to Jeff Ruby's, A Table for 8." So Dale Romans and I looked at each other. Man, we've done a lot of we've tried to get a lot of good things to do, people. But Dale got it done, and all of a sudden they're right in the middle of Jeff Ruby's on Oaks Night, 8 people. And but you couldn't imagine, and they're all coming back. Actually, the group isn't. They're on rest. They've been all over the world. But anyway, the manager is just like, I love this stuff. I really do. So he's going to spend some time. We're going out to dinner with him in about 10 days. So look, it can never hurt to have that kind of powerful force in the entertainment business truly take a liking to our game, and they're over the top excited. I hope we can get the job done for our partners, for all the fans, and also for Metallica.
Yeah, I mean, that brings new fresh eyeballs to the game as well. So it's been fun. Let's go back. Pulled up a replay stretch run of the Arkansas Derby back in March. We were down covering the Florida Derby, and we were standing with Tommy Bellhouse and Jason Blewett watching the big screen, and everybody around us was screaming down there. You had been at Gulfstream a couple days earlier, but you went out to Oaklawn. I think Joe Bianca from the team was there and others from West Point. But just talk about the win in the Arkansas Derby. This was incredible.
It was a great setup. Obviously. Right. At the half-mile pole, Joe Bianca and I kind of looked at each other and said, this is going to be very good. Yeah. And it did. But he kept on. And, he obviously put it together. He's still a little green through the stretch, and he galloped out really well. And I talked to Jose afterwards, and he was like, listen, we've got a big shot. So I think he had a good month going up the Derby. He didn't show up in the Derby. I don't know if it was a sloppy racetrack. I don't know if he wasn't good enough, but there are a lot of horses that just don't fire in the Derby. I thought he ran really well in the Preakness. I thought it was better than it looked.
I got a replay of the Preakness. We'll watch the stretch run there, and he runs third in the Preakness behind Journalism and Gosker. And given the results of the Haskell last week, you have to think that kind of flattered his performance as well.
I think it did. Wide on both turns. I know his sheet number was very, very positive, and I think we're headed in the right direction. And we definitely have a shot to pop here. Now, we could still pop and still be second or third best. We're not going over there, thinking that we've got all these horses over a barrel. Obviously, the Derby winner is just a beautiful horse. He's talented, and he's in the right hands, certainly. But we're going to give it a shot. And I think when you buy horses at the yearling sales and the 2-year-old sales, you give a lot of money. We give $1.2 million for him. We got great outside partners. We got DJ. We got St. Elias. We got CJ Stables. So I said when you're buying these kind of horses, you project forward and you hope, right? Although the odds are long, no matter what you pay, you hope you get to a day like this. Yeah. And we're here.
And again, for folks who didn't see the Haskell last week, Journalism and Gosco ran 1-2 there. So finishing third behind those two in the Preakness, as they say, is I would think a positive coming into this. How is he coming in?
Yeah, very well, very well. He's just really blossomed up here. I think when you think about it, he broke his maiden up here going 7/8, fairly close to the pace, and then Mark took him right through. Really didn't give him a break. We all thought, well, he's going to give him a break over the winter, like overall most horses are given. And he said, no, I just want to keep going on. So I think the break between the Preakness and the Jim Dandy, I think it's really done well for him. Now, all the other horses, right, they're going through that growth and the development and the progression phase as well. So we're not going to have any excuses. We put the blinkers on him. Mark did, and I've talked to Mark extensively about it. He said it could be really good, or it could put us in a position where we're too keen early on, and that takes away our kick, and we'll be fourth or fifth in here. But look, when you get beat like a couple of times, you got to make some tweaks. You got to try to make up the distance. Yeah. So we're hoping that's the case.
You're against obviously the monster and Sovereignty, so it's going to be interesting to see this afternoon. Again, with that Arkansas Derby, nice grade 1 this year, broke the maiden up here, so it's shown an affinity for the track. I'm looking forward to it this afternoon. Short field, and again, trying the blinkers this afternoon. I think has he worked in the blinkers?
Yes, he's worked twice in the blinkers. Okay, so you can't really tell. He's a good workhorse. He's a solid workhorse, probably a little bit more than solid. So listen, when they break off and they work like a half or 5/8, they're going to finish up well. They're going to gallop out well. Yeah. A good horse is going to do that. When you put 4 others in the starting gate and they go 1.125 miles, and you got 40,000 people, that the dynamics are changed, right? So look, we're all kind of, we got that great. We got all the butterflies in our stomach, and we're excited about the race. So, but I think, I think this will tell overall, like the nation and the industry. I think this will do a little bit more to, see if we can separate these horses. But it's a pretty good group of horses, the 3-year-old colts. I don't think, I haven't heard anybody that really knows what they're talking about really ping this class.
I've been saying right along, as compared to last year when we got to summertime, I thought they were still totally undefined. This year we're here, and the top 3, I think, Journalism, obviously Sovereignty, Journalism, Baeza are kind of 1, 2, 3. You're right there in that next group that I think it's been a solid class so far. I totally agree. So we wish you a lot of good luck this afternoon in the Jim Dandy, but you have some other horses coming up today, and one of those is in the 12th race, the finale, Fateful Lightning. I put that horse on top for Brad Cox, moving main special weight to maiden claiming, but I thought Fateful Lightning looked good this afternoon.
Yeah, I think so. He actually he got cut off at the 8th pole at Keeneland, and he dropped his rider. So I think it took him a little bit of time. That doesn't always, right? Those horses don't come back. I think they have it in their mind. So, but I think we're in a good spot. I think he's amongst friends today, and that drop from maiden special weight to the maiden 50 is usually a very good thing for a horse that's of average talent. So I think he's in a good spot.
Yeah, as I say, I used him on top. Tomorrow, got to always get some thoughts on first-time starters. You have British Invasion tomorrow from Miguel Clement, who's just going well. He's really on a little bit of a roll since he took over things, which was nice to see. You're partnered up with our friend Dean Reeves, British Invasion. What are you looking at tomorrow in the third?
Well, we were entered early. I guess the 4th of July weekend, they took it off the turf. I think there's probably a shot they take us off the turf tomorrow, and we'll just back up and we'll try again. But if we stay on, I think we're very live. I think we'll save ground in the turn. We drew a good post, and so far so good. He's been really showed quite a bit in the morning. So anytime you have a first-time starter, you just keep your fingers crossed that they show up and they show something and they kind of give you hope. Even if they don't win and they get to the winner's circle, they give you hope, especially at the beginning of the meet, because you know you're going to have a good shot to get to the races again towards the end of the meet. So we're pretty optimistic about that. He's a beautiful colt that we bought in Europe as a yearling. So a lot of upside there.
The perfect segue to have a first-time starter who does well early in the meet, because you'll have something coming up. Ewing. Boy, looked really good in debut, and it looks like you're aiming for the Saratoga special with Ewing.
We are. He's, we thought he was a pretty special horse, Seth, and you to think that you're going to come to Saratoga, you're going to break your maiden by 12. Now, you never know the horses. I mean, any horse that runs up here, any 2-year-old is going to be quality. It's just at what level the quality is. So I don't like to say, I really don't like to say he didn't beat anything, because I don't want to be disrespectful to the horse behind us. I thought he ran, probably even better than we thought, and we were very bullish going into the race. He worked here the other day. If you go online, he worked 47 and a tick. He could have worked 45. So he just really, he's given us a great feel. And I think it'll be a great Saratoga special next week.
Yeah, looking forward to that, because he looked good. You name a horse Ewing, you gotta wind up with something there. So, and he lived up to it. Integration going to be aimed a couple weeks to the Arlington Million.
Yeah,
is he up here?
He is. He is. I was over at the Shug's barn. He's a 5-year-old, and aside from about 3 lengths, he would have been a 5-time Grade 1 winner. So you just shake your head. You would think at some point, with all the bad luck or the tough luck that we had, that we have some really good luck in reserve. So we're hoping it's at Kelowna. He really likes that that race course down there. I think he's going to be very, very tough to beat in the Arlington Million. It would really be cool. I don't think we've ever had a horse that was more deserving of a G1 beside his record, on his record.
And I have to talk about one more, because I've always liked Vava quite a bit, Cherie DeVaux, runner. And she had some questions to answer last time, and questions answered. And then I was interested, came out of the race and weren't going to aim up here, but go instead to Charlestown. Going to be aimed to the race at Charlestown at the end of August. Big purse, and she's run well there before, and I guess not so much up here. So you elected to take the shot for the big money down at Charlestown.
Yeah, I give all the credit to Cherie. She early on, she realized, the filly had not trained as well on this surface as she had at Keeneland and at Churchill. So the fact that we didn't try for the test up here as a 3-year-old, or the ballerina as a 4-year-old, I thought that was a brilliant move. Obviously, she ran in the Charlestown Oaks and really ran well. And so I know not all of them go to Charlestown and are able to run well. It's a funny racetrack, and the lights and everything. But we'll go back, and I'm sure Cherie's thinking about the Breeders' Cup, the filly and mare sprint. So, I mean, she's handled this filly with a plum. And, these are – you have an uber-talented filly in the right hands with the right management and, of course, the right partners. That's when good things can happen.
Yeah. So she'll be fun. Before I let you go, because you mentioned British Invasion, you picked up at a European sale. I always like to pick the mind of you guys when you come up in here, because you play in all the sales. You'll be across the street. You, of course, had the famous purchase across the street, Flightline, but you across the street, the 2-year-old sales. And I wasn't aware. How long have you been playing over in Europe in the sales?
Actually, probably about 6 or 7 years.
Okay.
With the Clements.
Okay.
Nicholas is the lead man over there. But we bought other horses. It's a good way to kind of add some spice to the portfolio.
Sure.
People, everybody's trying to get to the Derby. Everybody's trying to get 2-turn colts. Everybody's trying to get the fillies to the Oaks. But when you have those turf horses, it can give kind of a diversity to your your scope of offerings, I think, is very appreciative. You talk about Flightline. I can't say enough. Like,
I remember the night.
You do. Yeah. I think we talked right afterwards.
Because you were on the phone already working deals. And
well, that's what I do. You just don't buy $1 million like unaccompanied. And that's what we paid for him. But anytime you have a tough day, you just think about we had the honor and the privilege to be part of a Flightline as a racing, on the racetrack. But now we have Flightline is the gift that has not stopped giving.
Yeah. No, you've had some great ones over the years, and still many to come. And Sandman is in the mix as being on the honor roll of Grade 1 winners for West Point. But Flightline, boy, to have a horse like that, just phenomenal.
I'll tell you, I think one of the coolest things is I'll get around to the different barns, and grooms will come up to me that that's a beautiful community on the backside, and they'll say like, "You on Flightline," or "Are you ever going to have another Flightline?" And we both laugh. There are 4 or 5 of those grooms or the foremans, and I just think that's a beautiful time because anybody can write, anybody can say on the front side, but when you have it on the backside and you have that connection with people that enjoyed the ride of Flightline, it really hits home.
Terry, appreciate the visit. Always appreciate it. We're early in the meet. Maybe we'll get you plugged in later in the meet as well, like a good 2-year-old. We'll get a little more Terry Finley.
All right, we got to be careful of that. Now, once in a while, we like to keep it to ourselves, but I promise anything that we'll have, I'll share with you.
All right. Jason Blue, when he was in, he was in before Ewing, I think.
He was.
So he touted
And
Ewing.
Curtain Call is all set to run. Well, he's going to run the Hopeful, so he's another exciting horse. But we've got a couple others. But it's a tough place to win, especially with 2-year-olds.
Yeah. But as I say, always fun to watch you guys, the West Point partners, having a good time. So wish you a lot of good luck today and over the weekend and going forward as well.
Always the best. Thanks you, Seth.
Terry Finley from West Point Thoroughbreds. We'll take a break a little bit later on David Aragona, but coming up shortly, Kali Francois. Stay tuned.
Sometimes it pays to go with the flow, to check your worries at the door, to reconnect with your crew, to follow the thrills and the flavor, to roll with it and see where it takes you, to enjoy every minute to its fullest, and to dance like there's no tomorrow. You can do that here at Rivers Casino and Resort Schenectady, where the good times flow.
For centuries, the bond between horse and human has been forged in trust and hands-on care. Thoroughbred racing is combining that tradition with cutting-edge technology to raise our standards even higher. New investments in wearable biometrics, advanced imaging, and AI help optimize our safety programs.
That opening quarter mile was a quick one.
Every day, a commitment to improving their care. So win or lose, it's safety that runs first. To learn more, visit safetyrunsfirst.com.
Welcome back to Racing Across America on this Saturday morning. Again, a gorgeous Saturday up here at Saratoga, which will lead into some nice stakes action this afternoon that will include the Lake George and the Jim Dandy. We'll have plenty of conversation about that coming up over the next 30 minutes or so, and we'll kick off that conversation with Kali Francois. Kali was in subbing for Steve Bick on Sunday morning. that was a fun Sunday morning, but we're happy to have
It
you in on a
was.
Saturday morning.
The fun continues over here. So what a fun card that we have over on Jim Dandy Day, Seth. It's gonna be just a phenomenal day of racing overall.
Yeah, definitely looking forward to it. You had just gotten into town last Sunday and then made a quick trip back to Maryland and then back again. But how's the first week in Saratoga going?
First week is good. I actually have been getting on some horses for Amelia Green. So I'm coming off of about a 2.5-year layoff. And so feeling it a little bit, but I'll be fine in about a week or so. So just just soaking in Saratoga again. And it's just, again, you see people that I see people that I haven't seen in ages because I've just kind of been sequestered in Maryland for a little bit. So just really happy to be here. And just, again, it's a Saratoga summer. That means life is perfect.
Very good.
Yeah.
And you talk about getting over there, 2.5-year layoff. And I don't think people realize when you really watch jockeys standing up the whole way and, hunched over. I appreciate what goes into it. But we talked a little bit about you being a jockey earlier, and given that, I had to pull up a Kali Francois win. I went back to 2019. Guys have the replay here. It was down at Laurel. It was down at Laurel in May. Horse called Ice Tea. You'll be able to pick it out. The red.
Blame the kids of Sanavi last, turning for home.
Jockey career of Kali Francois. Nice win here. Do you miss it?
Oh, of course, which is why I'm back. I mean, it's tempting not to get back out there, but a girl can only do so much in 24 hours. But it's quite funny because we just talked about me coming off of the layoff. This horse that we see on screen, he was coming off of about a 530-day layoff.
Oh, wow.
It was insane.
And if I'm not right, it was about 28-1. It was a long shot.
He was a long shot that day for a reason because he came off of the layoff. So he was just, but it went right to the front, protected the rail a little bit on the inside, and just, away they went. So, a nice solid horse there. Really, the owner was a really big supporter. So, it was nice to get that one for him.
Very good. I wanted to show.
We
talked
funny.
About your jockey career, so I had
funny.
to pull up a win.
That's great. Yeah.
Nice. You've been in town for a few days, bouncing around the backstretch a little bit, and you caught up with Mark Casse the other day. Talk a little bit about that and lead in. We have a nice take piece. He's going to talk about Sandman and Classic Q, but lead into that.
There's a lot about Sandman that, the biggest thing is the addition of the blinkers and the fact that we haven't seen him since the Preakness. So there's just everybody's kind of, obviously the horse in that race is Sovereignty to go for this afternoon. But let's go ahead and talk a little bit with Mark Casse about Sandman and exactly to the journey of getting to those blinkers. Mark Casse with Sandman here in the Jim Dandy. Now, it's been discussed amongst other media outlets, but talk about the journey to get to the blinkers here with Sandman.
Well, you know what? It's an experiment. I've had this work positive and negative. It's going to make him more aggressive, which could be a good thing. It could be a bad thing. He's run well coming from off the pace. We'll change that. Doesn't look like there's a lot of speed in the race, so he's going to be probably a little more forward placed. We don't know how that's going to affect him, but
surprise beginning if he does end up on the lead.
He's not going to be on the lead, but he could be close. And then we just got to see. I've said this is kind of a trial, the Jim Dandy. We're hoping for a good enough effort the Traverses are obviously our main goal, but he's got to run well enough that he shows he deserves to be there. So we'll watch. That's kind of, as a trainer, what you do. I've said it, a million times, is putting a puzzle together. You put the pieces. So we're trying a new piece in a puzzle.
He's had a very prolific winter into spring. How long has that piece kind of been in the back of your head?
For a while.
How long would you say a while?
You wouldn't do it after the Arkansas Derby, but he lost focus in the Arkansas Derby. The Derby was just a throw out because of the track. The Preakness, again, he wandered a little. I thought he had a little excuse. So he had so much dirt in his eyes. He ate so much that could have been part of it. So we tried him. We've tried blinkers on him. We worked him, and it does make him focus more.
Yep.
And so we're going to see.
Perfect. Now let's talk about Classic Q in Lake George. She's coming off of that mile win. This extra 16th a concern at all?
No, not if she relaxed. She ran in the what was it? Miss Revere, or no? Was it the Regret? I
Yes.
think the Regret. and it was 1.8 miles. She was keyed up from the start and ran off and just wouldn't settle. She came here and she won here, but she was much more better behaved.
Yep.
There was no pace in the race, so we were on the lead. I've said all along that I'd love to see her covered up, but looking at the race again, I don't know if that's going to happen.
How is she, and has she given you any indication in the mornings that she still might be coming in a bit keyed up this week?
She's good.
Great.
She's happy. She's here. And the good news is we have a top rider with Jose Ortiz.
Yep.
We'll let him figure it out.
Perfect answer. Thank you very much, Mark. Good luck this weekend.
Be careful.
Here we go.
Yep.
3, 2. Oh no, that was a bad countdown.
That's okay. We all have them. A little bit. We were too busy enjoying the clip. Mark did such a great job.
Good
on camera.
job.
We were distracted by Mark.
And I was saying to you, nice job with the interview.
No
but
worries.
Mark's always great.
Yeah, he's easy. He's very, very easy. Like a lot of these guys over here on the New York circuit. But talking, it's quite funny that he talks about kind of fitting the pieces to the puzzle, and I'm going to wait to say it until after the Jim Dandy, but I think this horse is going to make a massive move forward with these blinkers on. I think he's been asking for it for quite some time, and I really do think that he wasn't a spring horse. I just said to myself, this horse is a summer horse. So when he was big in the Derby talks, I said, guys, wait till Travers. That's when it's going to be his time to shine. And I really do think that, Mark, the plan obviously is not to have him on the lead, but he's going to be, I wouldn't be opposed to him getting right up there a little bit too, because when they get in that new type of position, they tend to, surprisingly, and especially with, one like him, they tend to get confidence from that and move forward. So it's going to be really interesting to see how that plays out. Well,
as a former jockey, what does an equipment change like that, a blinkers change, mean, or what can it mean sometimes? It
really depends how. Now, again, he's had 2 works with these. They kind of have an idea of what to expect, but in the sense of when the gates open, you technically don't really know what's going to happen once those blinkers go on. You're going to find out really quick, probably within the first 6 jumps, because this horse is going to be really, really turned on or off. And so let's go both directions here. Let's say Sandman is super turned, super just charged, geared up, really in the jock's hands. At that point, it's just managing what you can under control and keeping everything in the front as quiet as possible. Because, probably Baez is probably going to be sent a little bit, but Moplex is going to be a huge pace factor here in this race. So it's kind of, with Moplex just right to his outside, it's kind of managing and just seeing, and it would probably do him a little bit of world of good if he was kind of on that inside spot having to protect that rail. But if he breaks out of the gates and he's relaxed, then try and tip him to the outside. The blinkers will be just for additional focus as well.
Yeah, very good, because it's going to be interesting to see with the equipment change. Small field, Sovereignty just obviously lays over the field, but it's going to be interesting because I think it is a kind of a legit, small, but a legit field, a fun field.
It'll work out, because I have a feeling it's going to be the feeling is, I don't know if you agree with me, but Moplex is going to be on the front. So depending on the break, if the jock can just get Sandman to get maybe just wait, let Moplex go, just get right up to the outside of him and just kind of sit right off of him and use him as a target. That's the perfect trip that he's going to be getting. Yeah.
All right, let's get some ideas for this afternoon. We'll go through a couple of stakes races and one more. We'll kick things off in the Lake George. I think this is a fun race, and I went with Classic Q, just part of that solid group of 3-year-old fillies that Mark Casse has this year. Comes off of the Wild Applause, but this is kind of a either or horse, 3 wins and 7 starts, but if they're not wins, he's off the board. She's off the board. So you can go in other directions. Lavender Disaster off the 3rd behind Classic Q last time, but being lightly raced for Chad. Princess Attitude. Vicky Oliver's a trainer. I said earlier, she's always interesting to me. And with horses at prices, perhaps, and when she moves around like this, coming up from Kentucky to take the spot here at 15-1 on the morning line. I thought Princess Attitude could be a player at a price, but how did you see the late George?
Well, when you talk about Princess Attitude, I almost questioned the distance for her, but after watching that Churchill run, I was a little bit convinced. I have no problem with her kind of taking that one pace and sending this one as well. I do go with Classic Q on top, just based on the fact alone that when talking with Mark yesterday about this filly, the goal is to get this filly covered up. And I think especially we've seen this performance out of her earlier at Churchill. That extra distance, as Mark alluded to, doesn't bother me at all. As long as this one can get covered up, not concerned about this one being that 2-1 favorite at all. I go underneath with the number 10. We've got to talk about Play with Fire, that Chad Brown, Manny Franco. It's all in the trip. If you look at
my only question with her was the post position. So it will come down to a trip.
So when last time out the connections opened up and the front runner opened up in 46 and 2. I think stylistically, Manny's going to be a good fit because he's going to be able to get her out of that gate well enough and get her forward enough on that front side to put her in a good position. I'm not as concerned as with you because I know that Manny is going to be getting aggressive enough with this one out of the gate before getting into that potentially consequential first turn.
Very good.
Yeah.
Let's turn the page and go to the feature. Curious your thoughts here because I couldn't get past Sovereignty. I think he's just I've really liked Sovereignty throughout. I was on him in the Derby. I was on him in the Belmont. I thought the 7-1 in the Derby was great. I thought the 5-2 in the Belmont was great. We aren't going to be anywhere close to that today.
Not at all. I mean, the 2-5 is pretty straightforward here. We just haven't seen him run fast going long on the dirt here at Saratoga, but this isn't a problem at all. Underneath, I do go with Sandman underneath. We just alluded to all of the different reasons that we could see him go on well. And then underneath, I do go with Moplex to kind of hang in there, just trying to find some value underneath there. Because, listen, Sandman is probably going to be taking a little bit more of the play here. What do you think the odds are? When we get to the gate, what do you think we're going to be at with Baeza?
That's a good question. I think David's pretty close. I think with the 2 triple-digit buyers, he'll be a second choice. But 3-1 seems fair on that one, I think.
Sandman keeps getting more buzz, but when it comes to Baeza, it's, I was talking with Simon Callahan. He's a valet, and he's also been getting on Baeza ever since he shipped in for Bob Baffert. So he's been galloping him, and he says Baeza is very relaxed, a very cool dude. So he's coming into this not really totally geared up, but, look, I get the whole off the pace play with him, but this horse is in fact kind of, I think, just a bit of a better cruiser, and that's where Barrios comes in to ride and kind of play that game. So I have a feeling we'll see Baeza a little bit more aggressive, especially off of that rail. But so then when you come to Moplex here, his numbers match with the horse, look at the likes of Sandman. So definitely worth it to get a piece of it. The likely scenario is this is your pace setter that you're looking at. And if you play the card, a huge potential for him to go wide on the dirt and try and steal it if he gets that. So I do think he's the quickest out of this group here today. The smartest things for the connections to do is just kind of, if perfect world, Baeza actually goes, I don't think that's going to be happening at any stretch of the imagination. We're likely going to see Moplex off. I would love to see an opportunity for him to just sit right off of it. But in all honesty, this horse is good off of the second freshening, and he's 2 for 2 at Saratoga as well. So this is a track horse. Why not go for it here?
Finally, we'll take a look at the 11th race. We were talking about speed and who may be in front in the Jim Dandy and whatnot.
Yep.
Where's the speed in this race?
Not really much.
I wound up with the heel on top, closed into a fast-paced run. Okay, 4th last time, but I'm not sure where the speed is. Will of a Woman closed into a slow pace last time, and that may play out again today. Hello Beauty may wind up being the one to beat, but what did you see in the 11th?
So when we talk about Will of a Woman, it got the perfect trip in that first turf try, but there was a crucial moment where she needed to go and she was blocked and she didn't really have anywhere to go. So just needs kind of a little bit of more space around the turn, or kind of send this one a little bit. I wouldn't be opposed to that at all. It's not to say that she can't develop a flashier turn of foot in the future, but at this point right now here today, she's bucked the trend on the bottom side of her family, kind of being a little bit up there in the way that she operates well enough. So I could see Will of a Woman kind of going for it as well. Night Jasmine, I think, is a very interesting one here. You barely see it in the replay last time out. She's the one horse going to be breaking from that inside 2 position, but the shoulder brushed against the gate and there was a little bit of a head toss. So coming from my standpoint, what I noticed, if I were to guess anything, because I didn't get to see too much in the replay of how they were acting in the gates, but I have a feeling she was a little antsy. The assistant starter likely had a hold of her and kind of held her, kind of turned his head towards her because she was on the inside. She had to wait a long time for the rest of those horses to load. When the gates opened, that's where the head toss came in, and oftentimes they just brush against that inside padding that's on the inside of the gate. That took a lot out of her in that trip. I think at 6-1 puts in some value to move forward off of that last effort.
Very good.
Yeah.
Kali, always appreciate the visit and
Thank you.
appreciate the chat with Mark Casse. Get a little insight on a couple of his stakes runners today, and we'll see you next week.
See you next week. Thanks, Seth. Good luck, everybody.
Kali Francois, we'll take a break. When we come back, David Aragona is in the house. We'll talk to him. We'll hit on some morning line odds. We'll hit on some previews of some of the races coming up. All of that right after this. Stay tuned.
It's been referred to as possibly the best equine-themed gift shop on the planet. Impressions of Saratoga. Impressions of Saratoga, celebrating the Saratoga and equestrian lifestyles. It's your #1 choice for Saratoga souvenirs, apparel, and gift shopping. We have gifts for the entire family, and we're pet-friendly too. Visit us online at impressionssaratoga.com or come on down. Impressions of Saratoga, 368 Broadway, downtown Saratoga.
Why just watch the races when you can be in the middle of the action? For nearly 20 years, Bonaventure Stables' share-based ownership program has made thoroughbred ownership affordable for the everyday fan. Ownerships of 5 and 10% are now available on a nice selection of horses. As a partial owner with Bonaventure Stables, you'll enjoy all the benefits afforded every owner. Visit with your horse in the private stable area. Greet the trainers and jockeys in the paddock. And when your horse wins, savor the moment in the winner's circle at Saratoga, Belmont, Aqueduct, or wherever you bring home the prize. Based in historic Saratoga Springs, Bonaventure Stables has been training winners and creating memories since 2005. Learn more, see available horses, and meet our team at bonaventurestables.com.
Welcome back to Racing Across America. As promised before the break, it is our friend David Aragona, the morning line odds maker here at NYRA and more. David, good morning.
Good morning.
When we came on the set, we were laughing. Everybody agrees you are the pinnacle of morning line odds makers. Social media is all over that. You do a great job, and we'll talk a little bit morning line in a minute. But you also work for Timeform and DRF. And I'm going to give you a heads up. You did a great job, you and Mike Beer, that series of videos you put out a couple of weeks ago. Was that kind of timed for the beginning of Saratoga?
Yeah, we tried to put out some information for horse players that they could take into their handicapping of the first few cards and stats that people might not be aware of. I mean, some stuff is what you expect, but some jockeys or trainers that do well over the past several years that maybe aren't on everybody's radar. So we tried to highlight some of that stuff, how the tracks play, the Wilson shoot, all kinds of things like that. So yeah, on the Daily Racing Form YouTube channel, we've got some videos about tips for playing Saratoga.
Yeah, I would highly recommend it because I fired them up. Usually I'm sitting at home at night handicapping for 2 days ahead, and I'll fire up things on YouTube, and those were great. And I will tell the Wilson shoot. You made the list that I've been trying to do, so you saved me time. Post positions out of the Wilson shoot the last few years.
It's really interesting. Post 1 through 7 all feel like they've got a fair chance. Post 8 has never won in the years that we've been doing this. I think it's the 4th year we have the Wilson shoot. It was like 0 for 69 when I checked. It's probably a couple more now. Post 10's never won. 9's had a few, but those outside posts from the Wilson shoot are really tough, especially for a speed horse.
I said right from the beginning, if you just want to have fun, box up 1, 2, 3, 4, and it's something fun might happen out of the Wilson shoot. And then you and Mike Beard had a great discussion as well, and I've kind of quoted it here over the past couple of weeks. Mike brought it up of being a pick 4 player, and it's just gotten a lot tougher for various reasons. And so if you're in the same camp, scale down, go to the pick 3, go to the double, or concentrate on the win side of things.
Yeah, I think taking stock of your wagering is something that's always healthy to do as a horse player. And obviously a lot of bet types have gotten harder over the years with the CAW players being such a big portion of the pools. And Naira has done one thing that is really great in terms of wagering, and that's make the win pool a safe pool for all of us to play in, because you have the confidence that those odds are not going to change at the last second like you see at a lot of other tracks. So maybe you've been an exacta player for years, but you might want to check out the win pool if you are disappointed by some of those exacta or pick 3 payouts, because if you have an opinion on a long shot, you definitely want to bet it to win. And I think some people overlook that sometimes.
Yeah, no, I say that all the time. If you're 6, 8, certainly 10 to 1, and you're only playing the exacta, you may wind up kicking yourself. Our colleague Tom Amello used to call them the 2x4 horses, because at the end of the race, you want to hit yourself over the head with a 2x4 that you miss the exacta and also miss the $20 win price. Before we get into today, I wanted to get some thoughts on some of the action from the last week or so. Pulled up a replay of the Haskell last week. It was journalism. Never does it easy, but gets it done. Your impressions last week in the Haskell?
I mean, he's just a really easy horse to root for, especially the way the Connections have managed him, just dancing every dance, running through all of the Triple Crown events, then coming back, 6 weeks later to run in the Haskell. It's not a way that Connections have managed top horses in the past several years, so it's great to see them do it, and also great to see him be successful here. He did have to work a little bit harder than maybe you were expecting, but the 2 horses that he's running down here are lightly raced types that seem like they're heading in the right direction, and they got a lot of separation on the rest of the field. So I think all 3 ran well. I'll be interested to see what they do with journalism moving forward. It sounds like they're not quite decided yet if they're going to take on the Travers or try to stay in California for the Breeders' Cup. If they take the latter route and stay home, it would be totally understandable, because they've certainly asked a lot of him so far this year.
Well, as you say, when they came out of the running in all 3 Triple Crown races, I thought, we won't see him to the end of August. And so to go there, and he's going back and forth as a California-based horse, and maybe try the Pacific Classic against a relatively weak bunch of handicap horses out there, I could understand that too.
Yeah, well, we'll see how Nisos runs.
Oh, well,
today.
That's a great point. Yeah, that could change that equation, certainly. Also wanted to look a couple days ago, had Sean Flanagan in there yesterday. He's always a lot of fun, and he was a lot of fun in the winner's circle a couple of days ago with Chancellor McPatrick winning the Curlin, and just a ding-dong battle with So Sandy. What were your thoughts on Chancellor the other day?
Yeah, I would imagine Chancellor McPatrick has to be a frustrating horse for the Connection so far this year, because he showed so much talent as a 2-year-old, and they were just kind of wondering what they had to tweak to get back to that form this year. And maybe it was just racing him into fitness or getting a little bit of class relief here, because dropping into this restricted stakes race, I mean, it was kind of interesting. He was eligible for it as a 2-time Grade 1 winner, just hadn't done it this year. So he was able to sneak into the race and gets the job done. I mean, it was exciting. I don't know if these horses are going to be Travers horses. It sounds like they're not really looking in that direction with Chancellor McPatrick, but I'd be interested to see him get another chance turning back to 1 turn. I think they might be considering that.
Yeah, and that's what it sounded like with Sean. He said he's putting it in Chad Brown's camp to make the decision there. But that seems like, particularly, I mean, I'm sure they'll watch and see what the results are today with Sovereignty and make decisions based on that. And finally, I wanted to also look at yesterday with the Amsterdam, because, again, earlier today we were tipping our cap to Dallas Stewart. Smoking wicked. You usually don't see separation like this in a graded sprint stake. He wins by almost 6 lengths. Brian Hernandez in for the ride. And the betting public jumped on this horse.
Yeah, I'll be my own worst critic. This was a bit of a miss for me on the morning line. I think I had him 6 to 1.
Right with you.
I bet him. I mean, this is one of those where I kind of felt right from the time betting opened, this horse is super live, and the money is so smart up here. And I mean, he's a horse who had a lot of starts prior to this, so maybe you couldn't project the upside for him that you could some of the others. But his sprint form is just rock solid coming in. And there were some others in here that were a little disappointing, and he really showed up and feels like he's going to be a major player moving on to the Grade 1 Allen Jerkins.
You would have to think that certainly was very, very impressive. And, you talked about the morning line. And I just wanted to hit on that a little bit as well, because up here, and I'm sure I've asked you this before, but I'm guessing, the downstate and upstate, Saratoga has to be a little bit tougher, I'm assuming, because of all the 2-year-old races and first-time starters. I don't know how you nail that, but a lot of times I look at your morning line and when they go off, and I'm like, you had the crystal ball on some of these races, because first-time starters, you're working with a crystal ball.
No, actually, I feel like the 2-year-old races and the first-time starter races are some of the best for me in terms of performance, because I put the work in. I try to watch as many workouts as I can. I don't get access to the DRF clocker report by the time I have to get the line in, because it's due earlier than they produce it. But I can sometimes reference the past reports and try to link up who's working with who and make notes about that stuff. So I try to gather as much information as I can. It's a time-consuming process, but I feel like when you're able to gain the information, and there is so much information to find up here, even just from talking to people or looking at videos of workouts, which I'm very grateful for, I can get a pretty good window into how they're going to bet those races. For me, the much tougher races are deciding what to do with the shippers, especially from Kentucky. And I've had to really adjust the lines that I've made over the opening few weeks of this meet, because they are really betting those Kentucky shippers hard, especially from certain barns like Joe Sharp and Al Stahl. And I've kind of had to adjust the prices that I would have made them and make them a little bit lower, as I see the public just really gravitate towards those horses.
And have you been as surprised as I am talking to people? Irad Ortiz and his ROI at the meet is
it's been that was one of the topics of conversation that Mike and I were bringing up, that Irad has not been a great bet at Saratoga over the past several years. Even though he wins all the meet titles and wins so many races, he typically wins at relatively short prices. But he is winning at such a rate right now, and doing so with horses that aren't favored, that you're doing pretty well if you're just betting Irad in every race. That obviously can't continue. It's impressive for the stretch that he's been on.
No, normally you talk about the IRAD tax, where you bet a horse and you expect it's going to be 2 points lower than it normally would be without him. But at this meet, it's been mind-boggling. And you say it has to end, but a lot of times we're up here early in the meet looking at certain trends and thinking, well, that won't last. And then it lasts the whole meet. So I will tell people, keep looking at IRAD. You look up at the board and you see him at 8-1, maybe toss a couple of bucks there. All right, let's get some ideas for today, because also folks can find your selection every day on the NYRA website, right?
Yep, every day for free on the NYRA website. Today I do have my analysis on DRF with Mike Beer. We do those betting strategies every Saturday, so I'll plug that. Mike and I get out some wagers and go back and forth with analysis. But my picks for every day are on the NYRA website.
So it's every Saturday, the DRF. Very good. So people can look for that as well. Oh, and I will. You met him yesterday, but I'll say it on the air. So I'll give you my friend Sam has been using your picks, and I'm sure he's tweeted it out a few times and giving you that tip of the cap. But he's been very happy with the results.
Yeah, I finally got to meet him yesterday. He was very nice. Always good to meet people that you interact with on Twitter, and you tend to run into them in Saratoga.
Yeah, and Sam's a Buffalo guy, and he watches Capital TV regularly out in Buffalo and used to work at Buffalo Raceway, but he has been touting your picks now for a few weeks and doing very well with them. So we'll see what we can do here this afternoon, starting in race 8, state-bred allowance runners, non-winners are one other than 6 furlongs the trip. I went with Vikinda. George Weaver's on a little bit of a roll, only 1 win in 8 starts, but I thought, a little bit of a player. But
unfortunately, he's the one scratching the race.
Okay, you said you got the scratches before. I have not gotten them yet, but that's okay, because then I'll move up the Finger Lake shipper, who I thought was interesting, coming off a big win, the Chris Engelhardt runner, the 4 horse. I have it 4, 2, and 7. What did you see?
Yeah, both Finger Lake shippers are interesting because they've got some records and speed figures that say they're interesting in here. I just saw so much pace in this race. It feels like there's a lot of speed signed on, and both of those horses have speed. So it kind of felt like something had to give. In a competitive race like this, I don't usually like to default to a horse that I think could be favored, but I like the 9, Kenny B. At least he's drawn outside of all of the other speeds, so Jose Ortiz might be able to work out a more comfortable trip for him. And I just have not liked the trips that he's gotten in his last 2 dirt sprints. He's been kind of inside, behind horses. That's not the way he wants to run, and I think Jose is going to keep him out in the clear today.
It's interesting. I was at an event last night for Bonaventure Stables. They're one of our sponsors. They had a little event downtown, and somebody came up to me and said, I have a horse for you tomorrow, Kenny B. And then somebody a little bit later on said, oh, David Aragona likes your horse. So you got a little plus there, but they also had a little whisper. Now I have to look at Kenny B because I did not. Well, with the scratch, now I can pull that one into my bottom spot. All right. Stake side of things kicks off with the Lake George. And you said you had scratches in here? What are we looking at?
3 scratches from the main body. The number 2, Pretty Lavish, who I think we knew ahead of time was going somewhere else. The number 6, Princess Attitude, came out. And the number 10, Play with Fire, also out of the race. So,
all right, a couple of mine.
7 horses on the turf.
But I went with the obvious here with the Casse runner going well with his 3-year-old fillies, obviously, and Lavender Disaster. The interesting horse for me was the Vicky Oliver horse that scratched. But what do you see in the Lake George?
I think Classic Q is going to be a handful. We'll see if anybody really presses her today, because I know Mark Casse's kind of been saying he would love to get her covered up, but these races just aren't coming up in a fashion where it makes sense to take her speed away from her. So she'll probably go to the front in here. I think 1 mile and 1/16 is a little bit more of a stretch for her than the flat mile. I think she's really a true miler. I was just kind of intrigued by a new face with the number 3, Daisy Flyer, who's very lightly raced, but she's got that one race from Gulfstream Park over the winter where she almost won at 87-1. And you look at Classic Q's past performances, she was in that same photo finish for 3rd and actually was beaten by Daisy Flyer at the huge price. She's been off since then, but I just think it's interesting for a horse that's eligible for a first level allowance coming back in this graded stakes for Rusty Arnold, who can be pretty dangerous up here.
Yeah, well, as you were talking, now I'm looking and thinking, I may have to put that one in with a couple of scratches. That'll make logical to pull one in like that. And yeah, Kelly had talked to Mark Casse, and he said he'd like to get her covered up. But I think you're right. The way this race shapes up, I think they may just – and then you don't want to take away that advantage.
No, you don't want to decide you're going to ride a horse a certain way when the race that's drawn doesn't dictate that's the advantageous style.
10th is the Jim Dandy. Be interested to see if you have something clever here, because I could not get clever, but I said earlier a couple of times already this morning, I've been on Sovereignty, Derby, Belmont, even before. We were down Florida Derby weekend. I thought the Florida Derby set them up really well for the Kentucky Derby. I was thrilled with the 7-1 there. I was thrilled with the 5-2 in the Belmont. I think you may have nailed it with 2-5, maybe even shorter. So we're not getting the price, but I couldn't get past Sovereignty. How did you see the Jim Dandy?
I am going to take another shot with Baeza here. My thinking is this is not the objective for Sovereignty. Bill Mott has been so good at getting this horse to peak on the days when it really matters, the Derby, the Belmont, and the next one is the Travers. And like he used the Florida Derby to prep for the Kentucky Derby and was okay to lose that race, I don't think that they need to win this Jim Dandy for him to be set up perfectly for the Travers, the race that really matters. And watching his workouts, it's just a lot of maintenance Breeze. It just doesn't look like he's fully cranked for this, and he might not need to be. But watching the recent workouts of Baeza, John Shurist has completely reformed the way that he's training this horse into this race. It is not Shurist style to put these kind of fast drills into a horse. He did it once before the Santa Anita Derby. He got a 110 and change 6 furlong drill before that Derby prep, and he produced the best effort of his career that day. And his workouts, I've watched the videos of them on First TV. So impressive, so much more impressive than anything I've seen from him before. Feels like he's sitting on a peak effort. We'll see if it's good enough to turn the tables.
Yeah, he's still lightly raced. Certainly bring in the hometown jockey as well. He's interesting, no question about it. I'll ask you about the 2-5 on Sovereignty, and I'll ask you over the course of your doing morning lines. Has that changed? Because I say it all the time. Over the course of my life as a handicapper and watching the races, it has completely changed when the betting public likes a favorite. When they like a favorite now, they hammer it. And it was far and few between when you saw 2-5 or 3-5 on the morning line. More and more. Has that changed over the course of your doing the morning line? Getting a 2-5, really short morning line prices on favorites.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely become more and more pronounced over the past several years. When I started doing the lines in 2018, and even then, favorites just get bet down so much. A horse that used to be 4-5 does go off at 2-5 or 1-5. So, I mean, my objective with making the morning line is just try to mirror the off odds as close as I can. So if I think a horse is going to be 1-5, I try to make it as close as I can to that, to just try to also satisfy the way the math has to work out. I tried to make Sovereignty 1-5 on the line. I couldn't quite get the math to work out. Some horses would have to be too big, prices that were a little too big for me to be comfortable with. But yeah, he is going to be somewhere in that range. And luckily, Naira does not really get involved in the lines that I make. I know some tracks like to tell the line makers don't go too low to make it seem like our races are more competitive than maybe they really are, but no, I don't get any directives like that.
Yeah, very good. You should. Yeah. And for folks who aren't familiar with the morning line odds maker, you're not picking the race. You're predicting what the betting public is going to land on when the gates open.
Yeah, success for me is when you look down and see the odds printed on the paper, and they're very similar to what's showing on the tote board when the race is being run. I just try to get it as close as possible. It's hard to do sometimes in races where horses are coming from all different directions and class levels, but I do my best.
Yeah, and we appreciate it because you are very good. And if you're handicapping a couple days before, or particularly if you're handicapping the horizontal sequences, you want to have a good idea because it'll depend on how big your ticket is or whatnot. If you have a couple of prices in there, it changes things. So, and again, do a very good job. But let's take a look at the 11th today. State Bred Maiden Specials, mile and 16th on the grass. I saw no speed in here, so I wasn't quite sure what to do because Tehila kind of closed into a fast pace in a sprint. I went there, but I don't think there'll be a fast pace. Will of a Woman closed into a slow pace last time. May play out for that one. Hello Beauty looks like the one to beat. What did you see in the finale? Or not the finale, the 11th.
Yeah, Hello Beauty is definitely the horse to beat. She's faced some pretty good rivals against Open Company in Kentucky, and now she's coming in to face New York breds here. So it is a bit of a drop in class, but this is a pretty competitive and deep New York bred race as far as they go. So I don't think it's huge class relief for Hello Beauty. And I do like the number 4 Tehila. And I'm really hoping that she can finally break better today because I think that she's got natural speed to be more forward as she showed in some of her early sprint races. She's just had some trouble getting out of the gate in her last couple of starts. And I know that there's no trouble noted in the short comment line for her lone route race 2 back, but that is a replay that some people watching this might want to go look up if you can. You can watch replays on NYRA.com. She had a nightmare trip that day, trouble at multiple points in the race, ran so much better than the 6th place finish would indicate, and I'm very intrigued to see her stretch out again.
I like it. I'm on board as well at a nice 6-1 morning line, so hope you nailed the morning line there as well because that price works for me. Dave, I always appreciate the visit. Maybe we'll plug in when you return later in the meet because it's always fun to pick your brain on, again, morning line and just some of the thought processes you and Mike Beer go over as well, and some selections also. And you can find Dave's picks every day on the NYRA website. Appreciate the visit.
Yep, sounds good. Always happy to come on the show.
All right, we'll wrap it up. They're firing up the pregame show at NYRA, so we'll get over there. It's 12:30 post time today. Don't forget, Jim Dandy, Lake George. Great day if you're headed up. Weather is very nice. And don't forget tonight over at the Harness Track, the charity event with Katie Davis and Trevor McCarthy, match race last year. Great event, good crowd. Should be fun again today over at the Harness Track. Do a doubleheader. All right, tomorrow morning, 9 a.m., handicapper support, 10 a.m., loose on the lead. We'll see you then.
You've been watching Racing Across
Very good,
America.
as always.
Racing Across America has been brought to you by Pennell's Restaurant, a Saratoga tradition since 1922. 284 Jefferson Street, Saratoga, just minutes from the track. And the Clubhouse Racebook, 711 Central Avenue, Albany. When you can't make it to the track, make it to the Clubhouse Racebook.
And Grace. Scratch 1A, 2B, 2C, 2X out of the 11th. And in the 12th race, number 4, suspiciously named, the jockey Romero Mirage. Scratch 5, Chucky R. Law. Scratch 8, Majorca. Scratch 12, Ski Bum, as well as 13 Nance, 14